Hey, and welcome to Untethered with Jenless, the podcast that's here to help you break free, be you, and unleash your inner brilliance. I'm your host, Jen, and in this episode, we're going to talk about living on purpose and not according to others' expectations. Let's dive in. Hey there, unicorn. It's Jen. How are you? How the heck are ya, my friend? Really, ask yourself for realsies. How are you? In this episode, we're talking to Angelina Rosario, and she really does care so much about the answer to that question. She also cares about the question, who are you at your authentic core? And are you living according to what that person wants and what that person's purpose is? Angelina is a true testament that adversity can be turned into victory. She was raised in the projects in Miami, Florida, in a neighborhood called Liberty City. In 2016, she was diagnosed with a tumor in her face the size of a baseball. She's going to tell you all of the things that came along with the challenges that she faced from this. Today, she is an executive leader, a coach, an author, and a speaker, and she has influenced thousands of people by teaching them the things that she learned through her challenges that she faced, both health and mentally, along her life's journey. She has influenced thousands of people by teaching them the things that she learned along the way that supported her with mind, body, and spirit, and helps people turn their pain into purpose. She's also, along her journey, realized the importance of being her most authentic self, especially when it's really difficult. And she knows that that is part of her purpose. And she wants to come here today to share that with you. So without further ado, welcoming to the podcast, Angelina Rosario. Hi, Angelina.
Hi.
As soon as you entered the space, yes, I'm so excited to have you here. I was like, oh, that is a smile on a face that I am like here for.
Same here.
I'm sure everybody in your life appreciates your energy so much, because you're definitely one of those people who radiates it, which brings up the question, have you always been that way? Did you come out of the womb this just radiant being?
Oh, hell no. You know what? I think I was always this person. I didn't allow myself to be this person. So it wasn't, and we'll get deeper into that. I think as I continue with my journey and I went through my own challenges, that I started owning my truth and didn't care that I am this loud Latina. I am loud and I laugh. I had this very interesting laugh that people made fun of. And so I own every bit of me now. So yeah.
It's so beautiful. I can't wait to get into that, because that's, I think, what a lot of people struggle with. I myself, that's why I have this podcast, because I'm like, okay, what am I curious about? How can I be more me and just feel so much more comfortable being me? So who do you feel like you are? Like, who is Angelina at your core? What drives you?
What drives me is making an impact. And I didn't really know how that looks like, because I thought it was just, for corporate America. And I was supposed to only make an impact where I work. Now realize that making an impact could be at Starbucks as I'm grabbing coffee and you're just being vulnerable. I think I was also afraid of telling my truth, my stories, where I came from, and all my struggles, because I was afraid. I was the third oldest in the household, and I felt like I had to be a strong woman and had to have it all together because of following me and not allowing people to see my failures, my successes. So I think who I am now is a person who just wants to make an impact and honestly live my truth. I don't care if you like me, if you don't. I'm just going to be me, because I think I'm going to attract the person and the people that I'm supposed to attract, and stop worrying about people pleasing and conforming to whatever personality that they want me to be so I can be liked. I just don't care anymore.
What has gotten you to that point? What is the journey that has taken you to this today? Because if you came out, into this world not being that way, and you're obviously here, there's been some kind of untethering that has happened for you. So what was kind of the impetus for that?
Absolutely. I mean, I think the breaking point was a tumor, but I would say right before that, I went through a really bad breakup. And, he just shattered my heart. I thought he was the one, and I thought I had life completely figured out. And so when they say it rain, it pours. That was my life at that chapter. So he walks away. He tells me he's not in love with me anymore
How
and
old are
walks
you at
away.
this time, just to give us some grounding?
That what
How old were you at this time?
how old was I was 30.
Okay, 30 years
I was
old.
30. And so that was almost 13 years ago. So I'm, what just happened here? I thought I had my life figured out. I was supposed to be living in LA with him. And so that happened. But a year after, this is, I believe, my real awakening. I mean, I was already starting to waking myself up, but not until a year later, my face started getting deformed. And I didn't realize it was a tumor at the time. And so I got misdiagnosed. And so that the doctor didn't know it was a tumor. And I knew something was wrong because my face was quickly deforming. And so I went to the emergency room, which that led me to a doctor where they said I had 30 days or I would lose my speech and I wouldn't be able to walk again. So I'm in communication, like losing my speech. I didn't even know how to handle it at the time. I remember sitting there feeling like my whole world just collapsed. Like, what just happened? Sitting there, they went to get the x-ray. First, I didn't know the 30 days. So I'll take you back. I'm sitting there. They went to do the x-ray, and then a team of doctors just walked in. And never good news when you see 5 or 6 doctors and no one's really smiling at you. You're just like, oh boy. But never did I expect to hear, sorry, you have a tumor size of a baseball and you have 30 days
In your face.
in my face. And so I didn't really quite knew what that meant. I was like, okay, what does that mean? And they're just, well, my face was already deforming because they had no more space. They're like, if you don't remove it, you won't be able to speak. But that also means that we have to remove 16 teeth. We would have to remove your gums and bone. And then we would have to transfer. At the time, they were saying that they would have to cut the right side of my leg to be able to move a bone and nerve from there to transfer over to my mouth. And so remember I just said earlier, I was a strong woman. I was supposed to have it all together. And I felt so vulnerable. I felt lost. I didn't understand. And I was questioning my faith. I was questioning myself. I really didn't understand why all this is happening. So I went on the journey. I said, okay, I'm going to recover from this in 1 year. I'm adamant about this. But I think God has a funny way of working things out. I needed to go through that 4 year journey to become the person that we just spoke to about earlier, that just owning my truth. I wasn't quite there yet, but it was a journey because it took 4 years. And before, I always laughed because I was wearing a mask and people were constantly looking at me before the mask became a thing. And I was like, and I celebrated not having a mask on February 2019. When did we go into COVID? I was like, you got it again. But
Weird.
it was interesting because it wasn't until I was in ICU and these tubes all over my mouth. And I remember just couldn't talk, I couldn't move. And I'm looking up in the ceiling and I'm hearing a cold red, cold blue. And I really didn't quite understand what was happening, but I knew someone wasn't going to make it, or it sounded like someone was falling into a coma. Something was happening. And I'm sitting, I'm like, listen, God, if you can just get me through this, if you can get through this, I promise you things are going to change. I promise you that I will share everything that I can about this recovery once you show me how I'm going to recover. And so we went to work. I came back home, and it was a lot of, like I said, I was out of work in and out for 4 years. And I did a lot of research. I'm like, what is this whole mindset? I was already introduced to it somewhat during the breakup, but I didn't fully grasp it. And I really immersed myself into the mindset. And I would go back to the doctors and they said I have an infection and I was to go through another procedure. So there was a lot in between. But I don't regret one thing. Not one thing. I know it's hard because they didn't have to remove 16 teeth. Only had to remove 5. So I consider that a miracle. The walking, the bone and nerve, they didn't have to remove it from the right side of the leg. They removed it from the hip bone, and it's a small scar that you wouldn't be able even to see even with a bikini on. And the amount of learning, like I said, I was trying to distract myself. So I wasn't watching anything negative. I was completely removing people out of my life and immersing myself in self-development books, reading a lot of data, just trying to figure out what this mindset thing really is, just because I come from a religious background and I was like, I am not about that life. And so, I went over and I'm like, I think I'm more spiritual. But what does spiritual even mean? And how do you apply this in your day to day? I have a sailor mouth. I curse
Well, it
every
feels so
day.
disconnected for most people. The way that we have always thought of it and talked about it is so disconnected.
Yes. And I didn't really quite understand it until, again, I think I just started really understanding how my mind works. And I didn't realize when you said in the beginning, well, you always this positive contagion. No, I was like, I remember when I started meditating, I was like looking at the clock, like it's only been 30 seconds, right? And I feel like I have about 100,000 things that just went through my brain. So,
Right.
but I continued doing it, and the journey took me. When I came back for recovery, I immersed myself in these 5 tools that we can talk about. However, I came back different to corporate America. I came back with a mission. In that midst of chaos, I created a company, and it was called She Fixes Crowns at the time. And it's still She Fixes Crowns. It's just I'm not going now with Angelina Rosario. And I did it afraid. I did it so afraid because I was like, I am about to rough up some things around here, right? So, and I was corporate girl all day. I ate, slept, everything corporate, and even my social media, everything was taking pictures. I work for media. And I remember I switched and I said, I made a promise. No one from corporate America was standing next to me in the ICU bed. I have given myself, I have given so much of me. I lost myself in the midst of it, and I conformed to what they wanted me to be. I am no longer that. It's either they accept me for who I am, because I almost lost everything. If you don't have health, you have nothing. And if my voice didn't come back, they would have fired me. Right. So I had a different perspective about life, came back, and the first thing they said, like, what are you doing? Well, first of all, because they went to my social media, they're like, they saw that I changed my profile. I went 100% into She Fixes Crowns. I've never looked back. I've never looked back. I own it. I laugh and chuckle so many times because I'm like, I'm about to piss them off right now because, you look, I am doing it so different. I'm probably the only person who in my company is doing it so different. I post, what I want to post. I realized that I don't want to live based on what they think I should be. And it has rewarded me in many ways. I feel that God, the universe, whatever you want to call it, I feel it has rewarded me for saying yes to myself.
Oh my gosh, your story, I got chills multiple times. 4 years is such a long time, and I know that there's many people who spend longer feeling like they're in the midst of a health battle. But that, and no matter what the length of time, it's such a long time. My husband has been through his own, struggles there, and just that keeping that positive mindset and the strength and the courage that you had to look that way, to look there instead of looking into the hardship. And I want to get to this untethered social media stuff. We're going to get there in just a second, but I do have to underscore the mindset piece and what happened there for you. So what do you think really made the biggest difference for you in your healing and in your recovery and getting back to where you're at?
So when I started researching all the successful people who have had their own challenges in life, right? And I said, what do they all have in common? And all these different books, articles, data said meditation, journaling, visualization, affirmations. And I was like, okay, great. How does this all work? And I felt like I was going through many different resources to figure out what it really meant. So I was like, well, who has time to meditate for 40 minutes? Not me. And I was like, does it, because they also some certain resources said, if you didn't do it for this amount of minutes, you don't reap the benefits. So as I started really digging in and I started figuring out, okay, what works for Angelina? So like I said, I mentioned earlier, I started meditation. I was like, OMG, what in the world? Do I always have all these thoughts? Like, what is happening? And then the visualization wasn't no different. I would try to visualize myself healed, but I can feel, because part of the data was that you had to feel that you were healed. And that, I have to be honest, even in the book that I mentioned earlier, which we'll talk about that, I said it in the book. I'm very vulnerable. I was like, what in the world? You know, you have to do it in the morning. Okay, I'll do it in the morning, but I'm really extremely tired. But I needed to recover. That's all I knew. I needed to recover because doctors were telling me the opposite. They were completely with they every time I kept going back, I kept reverting. Here's the worst scenario. They didn't want to give you the best scenario. They wanted to give you the worst scenario. And that, I would leave defeated. I'm like, and then there was a side of me that almost fell into a victim mindset. It's not fair. Why me? There's people out there that really deserve it. I'm just trying to do good. And so it took a lot of work. I had to face the mirror with no teeth. And that was hard. I don't know if anyone ever had their teeth removed and their gums and both your face completely deforms. And so I faced that, said, you know what? I have to face my fears. One, I face it. This is I said, I can still speak. I know I don't have teeth, but I will. And so I started doing visualization first. I remember this. I started doing visualization. I did it for 5 minutes. And over time, I started seeing myself, and I even used it now, and I'll give you a little story after this, but it's my go-to. I'm like, okay, I think it took me a while, to be honest. There's 30 days. It definitely took me more than 30 days to really start feeling those emotions of seeing the doctor saying the complete opposite of what they kept telling me. I kept seeing myself smiling with greenery, with nature. I was running around with a white dress, was smiling and laughing. And so I kept that going. I journaled a lot because that is where I found that it was therapeutic for me. I can express my emotions. Some days I was really strong. Other days I was really weak. And so those weekdays, I just wrote things down that I was grateful for. For example, okay, they didn't remove 16 teeth. They only removed 5. Okay, they said I couldn't walk. Well, I'm limping. So I'll take that as the win. Right. So I just started really focusing on the things that were going well versus just honing on everything that was going wrong. And I started seeing a shift there as well. The affirmations came in another tool for me, again, all based on a lot of studies I've done. I looked in the mirror and with no teeth, I looked in and I just kept saying, you are beautiful. You are so worthy. You're doing so well, Angelina. I'm so freaking proud of you. You're just gonna end strong. And look, even now when I'm saying it, I felt this energy shift for me. I got used to, I actually got used to not having any teeth at one point. So I know it got really good for me, but hey, I love my 5 teeth now. And so, with that as well, like I said, I practice meditation. For me is guided. When I realized that my mind was going everywhere, I found guided meditations on YouTube, and that helped me to stay present. I've reaped a lot of benefits from meditations where I got my insights as well when I felt, again, defeated, had no one to turn to. I felt if I went to someone, they would judge me. And so I always was a strong woman in the family. I had to have it together. So it was my way to calm myself down. And if they said that I needed to go into another surgery, meditations where I found the voice within, I would say, to tell me if I should move forward with that surgery or not, or who should I see. I would get guidance for sure. And that's how I felt like I'm like, I need to get it together. And then for me, I call it inspirational prayer. For me, it was prayer. I talked to something higher than myself and said, I don't know how to do this. I don't even know how I got here. I don't even paying karma for something, whatever it is. I need you to help me, you know? And I know I'm going to show up and you're going to do miracles for me. And I'm going to be a witness for you. I'm going to tell your story to everyone that wants to listen to it. But I need you. And I need you to show up today because I feel alone and abandoned. And so these are the 5 rules. I mean, the 5 rules, the 5 tools that change it. I do it early. I do it to this day. Actually, I got diagnosed with thyroid 2 weeks ago and I started putting this to work. And I was like, oh, no, 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 no. And so it's funny because I think life will test you. And these are the tools that I lean on. I feel like I'm not as reactive anymore. I lean in. I don't know if I become superstitious, Jen, or what. I can't leave my house without doing my 5 by 5 because I realize the world out there is rough, right? It could be rough and you don't know what challenges are going to come your way and you have to be ready for it. And I feel like these 5 tools has really strengthened my my mind more than anything. And I don't react. Even when I hear things, I'm like, okay, cool, got it. And then I'll go and in the morning and I do. Listen, judge me if you want, but I'll write in my journal like, this is bullshit. I'm tired, like, I'm like, God, you created me. I have not felt convicted by being me, right? And yes, I used a lot of power. So, it's just how I communicate.
Judgment-free journaling. That's a powerful tool.
So you journal as well.
I do journal. I'm a resistant journaler though. And I think something that you said earlier is really powerful, that you said do what works for you. And at the same time, I do try to incorporate a lot of these practices. So first of all, I just want to say you are a walking, talking
Thank
miracle.
you.
You are such a beautiful example of a miracle right here in front of us. And we all have to acknowledge that your miracle is also our
Thank
miracle.
you.
And we've been gifted with hearing your story. Oh, I got chills all the way to my toes.
Thank
So
you.
there's so much truth in that. And the fact that you're having the courageousness to come out and share your story, and you're obviously being called to it. And I personally believe that thyroid is always like a sign of us, like there's even more for you to share with your voice. So that's something that I personally believe, that when we have that little nudge, it's like you are meant to be even more authentic, like more like you're following the right path, just be even more. So just to acknowledge that for you. But there's so many practices that are available to us. Can you explain like simply like the 5 by 5, what those five are and how we can be engaging it? Like when you go to leave your house and you're like, I've just, whether it's superstition or not, it's working for me. Obviously it's working for you. So we might want it to work for us too. So how do we do it?
I mean, everybody has different schedule. I acknowledge the fact that I am married, but I don't have children yet, right? So I acknowledge that I have family members who have kids, and I'm like, good Lord, there's a lot going on over there. So I acknowledge the fact that everybody's schedule looks very, very different, and you have to find ways that works for you, even if it's waking up earlier. I do all five, which then makes us 25 minutes. I acknowledge the fact that not everyone can use 25 minutes. My story is a little different. I was going through hell. I had nothing to lose, and it just became part of who I am. Okay. So I say that because I also realize that you have to figure out which tool you need that morning, even if it's just 5 minutes. So to remember them, I have an acronym, JABIM. JABIM. So it's journaling, affirmations, visualization, inspirational prayer, however you want to look at it, and meditation. So, and I always say, it's like, for example, how do you know if you need journaling? Well, I feel when you are internalizing many things inside, you feel like you don't have an outlet, and you need to just put your thoughts on paper, just because it's not good to suppress all these different emotions, good or bad. It could be used for gratitude. Maybe you're not, for me, I'm like, if I'm not feeling great or I'm comparing, I hate that. And it comes up, I'm human. I'm like, oh, hold on, Angelina. And I'll journal. My journal's full of like, you'd be like, this girl, right? So I own that. I think it's a good therapeutic tool. Not, I think I'm a big fan, huge advocate of therapy, but I think beyond therapy, what happens when you leave your therapist and you're still feeling these different emotions? I believe journaling is a very good tool. And until you try it and make it consistent in your life, you wouldn't really understand what I mean. And I'm not big on the cell phone. It's something about grabbing a pen and paper and writing down those thoughts and scribble, scrabble, and do whatever you need to do. But you do feel your emotions shift. And then I go with affirmations. Like I said, it's when you're not feeling like you're enough. When you're feeling, you just compare to yourself and say, oh my God, I'm not pretty enough, or I'm not skinny enough, or I'm not smart enough. I think affirmation kind of brings back that reality and put it into your subconscious mind of your truth. And I like to do it. I actually, Louise Hayes is a person that I listen to a lot, and I listen to her in the morning, and I look at myself. So I'm the mirror girl. You don't need to do it in the mirror, but I started in the mirror because I had no teeth. So it became a thing that I can look at myself. I feel like when I look in the mirror, I'm looking within my soul, the real me. And I remind myself, I don't know, maybe I'm presenting something for corporate and I don't feel like I'm worthy enough to have a seat at the table. And so I'm shaky and I don't feel like I'm confident to go and present. So I'll look in the mirror, and you don't have to do it this way, but I'll say, I'm like, Angelina, you're a bad bitch. You got this. You were built for this. The seat would have never been given to you if you didn't deserve it. You go there and you show them and you walk with your head high. And so I have this whole conversation in which I call affirmations and I'm like, that's right. And I did it through my health journey. I'm like, I'm healthy. I am walking, I am feeling energetic. So those are the things when I feel that I have no energy, that I don't feel like I can get through it. I'm having this negative inner dialogue with myself. The affirmations definitely come through. Visualization, that's my baby. That's the one that I lean on every morning as well. I do have, I believe in vision boards. I went from having a big poster board to having it actually now on my phone. But I like to look through it in the morning and I close my eyes and I do see myself. I see myself having these things. And let me tell you, about 75% of them do manifest by the end of the year. So I'm like, guys, even there's 50%, at least you have a vision. And I like to put action behind my vision for, because I've heard people like, oh, that's a bunch of woo woo stuff. It doesn't work. Or like, one, you don't believe it. If you don't believe in any of these tools, it's gonna be really hard to put them to work. So you have to believe it. And that's why I support it with so much data is I believe in the right and left brain. I get it. Right. So I support it with a lot of data, but with the visualization, I like to see myself, depending what day it is. I may not have a big presentation, but if I do have a big presentation, I see myself as well walking into that boardroom, seeing myself confident in the eye contact that I'm going to make and how I see it all. I see it all. And there is something to be said that when you walk into those meetings, you do walk in a lot more confident, or for me right now, I'm 43 or 42. So there's, I'm trying to have at least one child. I also release it to something that's higher than myself, which I call God. So for me, at the end of the day, I visualize myself being a mother, regardless of whatever challenges are going on right now. And then I release it to the universe and whatever's supposed to happen. But it removes that negative feeling of, "Oh, I'm never going to become a mom. They're saying I'm too old or my eggs and so on and so on." And so I'm like, no, it leaves me not feeling like I need a child to bring me happiness. So that visualization just allows me to feel satisfied with where I am in life right now. And even picture a child, it may come very different in what I thought envisioned. So I like to put that into play because I just see it and I feel it and I feel better. And then I will go into I just talked about inspirational prayer. I'm a talker, if you haven't noticed. But I like to, for me, I can be me. And I don't have good days every day, regardless. This is why I need the 5 tools every single day. And
Mean to yourself, mean to others, both.
feeling good about myself or what people think about me. And I would
Mm.
say even the comparison game. I'm in corporate America. I'm the only minority in my role, in the leadership role. And sometimes I feel
And also a woman in
in
sales.
sales.
So yeah.
Yeah, which is, and I'm loud and I voice my opinion on everything because I just kind of decided owning my truth. And I'm like, I disagree with that. Actually, no. I mean, you lose this fear. But I like to pray just because one, I want to be grateful for the things that are going well. But maybe, the thyroid, I will tell you that it was praying. I'm like, okay, I'm thankful that you brought this to my attention. I'm also thankful that you're going to show me how to heal it. And I'm so thankful that I release my fears to you. Like I don't, because here's the deal. We tend to want to talk to other people about a problem, and you have to be careful because depending where they are in life is what the advice they're going to give you. So if I go telling someone, hey, I heard bad news today, I went to the doctor's office and I have thyroid. Oh, goodness. You got to be careful with that. You have to hurry up and get our prescription. Do you know what happened when I had thyroid? And it's like downward spiral where you have to be, I feel like there's something higher than yourself that you can go and speak to. All we're trying to do is be heard. We're just trying to let it out. If you don't feel like journaling, you don't feel like writing, well, then speak it out, which is what I call prayer. Or get inspiration. I don't know, see yourself healed, right? And use the other tools. So there's different ways for you to get to change that negative mindset. And I'm very big on being careful who you're going for advice, especially when you're in your vulnerable chapter of your life, right? So
What you said there about depending on where someone is in their life, that's the advice that they're going to give you. And then you gave this very good example of thyroid because I was like, girl, keep going. Yes, keep because I'm like, you're healing it yourself already just by using your voice. And that's where I'm at in life because that's what I believe. So that's obviously the advice that I give. But 10 years ago, what advice would I have given you? Girl, you got to go get on that medication right now because otherwise it's going to get worse. So,
Or miscarriages. You
proof.
know how miscarriages happen when you have thyroid. I'm like, oh my gosh, like move, right? So, like,
Yeah.
and that's the point that I'm trying to make. You just have to be careful. And then you know what? When you start putting these tools into action, you start attracting the right people into your life. Because you're much more aware of your thoughts. You're aware, like, oh, that's an interesting thought, Angelina. Look at you, girl. Oh, yes, you just need a popcorn and Coke, and you're just having a little, probably, but then, like, I call it a party pooper party going on. And I was like, stop with the nonsense, Angelina. You know better. It's okay to feel what you're feeling right now. Yes, that was not cool what that person just did. Totally get that, you know. However, are you going to allow it to steal your energy right now? No, we're going to shift this energy right now. And then I'll depend what tool do I need at that moment to change that energy. And so even with my husband, I know I manifested him for sure. He was he was definitely part of that 5x5 success habits because I thought for a while, who would want me with no teeth? How do I kiss? How do I do this? Like, oh my gosh. And all these
Did he come during that time while you were
he
healing?
came in right after, but I wasn't afraid to tell him I had fake teeth. I wasn't afraid to tell him, here's like it was I owned my story, which I wasn't there. Like I probably would have been afraid to kiss or to be like, should I because he's not gonna like me. At this point, as I said, timing is everything. I had owned my truth. I had done the inner work. And I kind of didn't care if you left. This is me. You may, I still have my checkups and I still have to clean it really well. So he'll walk into the bathroom and I'm like doing my cleaning. And so, but he loves me so much authentically, genuinely. He knows my story. I talk about it. I'm like, oh my God, my front teeth, so it just where I know I would have been really embarrassed about it and I would be ashamed to show him my scars. I would be afraid to, I'm not afraid to be like, okay, well, I did some kind of workout that messed up that hip bone a little bit. Need to calm down a little bit. I'm not afraid to share my story with him and every failure, every success, every vulnerability. Like I just share everything with him now.
Yeah, the courage in that moment for you to show him the authentic you, it just shows like you were both at the right place at the right time and it connected and that's what happens. The more that we heal ourselves, both, actual physical things and the mental things, then the right next thing is always showing up for us. Like I even believe you're coming on this podcast at this exact time because this is exactly what it was meant to be, that we both were meant to connect on a certain energetic vibration. And so here you are, and here we're having this really powerful conversation. What I love is that you've taken all of these modalities that we often talk about, whether it's journaling, and you're like, 5 minutes of each of them, 25 minutes will change your life.
Pretty much.
It's very simple. It's really powerful. Thank you so much for sharing that tool with us. Okay, now here's what I want to get to is talking about how you are being this most authentic, untethered self on social media while in a leadership sales role at a company, because I was just talking to somebody the other day who said, yeah, I can't be that way yet because I currently have this job. I can't be that. I can't be, basically what they're saying to me is I can't be me yet. I can't be me yet. What is the cost of us having that thought in our heads?
She won't succeed in her current role as she should. Here's what I learned. When I decided to be me, and when I mean me, I mean, I just became the best version of myself. I laugh all the time because I get selected for all kinds of things. And they don't even probably know why they're doing it. They probably don't want to do it. But something higher and bigger than themselves. I just got an email today. They want me to fly to Dallas. They selected three of these leaders in this role to go to Dallas. I started cracking up. It's 12 of us. I started laughing. And then to be honest, I think I told it to my GM. The reason why our market is doing so well is because he finally understood you cannot change me. The more you allow me to show up who I am, the more I can give you. The moment that I have to conform and live in a box, I can no longer serve you the way I should be serving you. And we minimize our successes, such as like when I show up, my reps know me. The way you see me now is exactly how the sales operation sees me. I do not change for anyone. I don't switch personalities now that I'm walking into corporate America because I believe promotions don't come from me. They don't come from anybody else. They come from something that's higher than myself, again, that I call God. So because honestly, you can lead fearlessly when you know that. When you go campaigning for something, you have conformed to whatever they say they want you to be. It's really hard to sustain. It burns you out. You become miserable. I know because I've been there, right? And so when the moment I'm like free to be myself and hell with it, guess what? If you don't like it, then it is what it is. By default, I am succeeding. This is the best that I've done in my career. It's really interesting to see because I feel that they're missing out a big part of who you are. And so you're not able to contribute that. And which is now, for me as a leader, that's a disservice to your team. They need to see everything about you. And what's interesting is that other doors are going to open for you. You're going to be afraid. Can I be honest with you? Do it afraid. You're going to feel like you're judged because, funny enough, this happens to me every single day. If I post a picture that's like 98% of my posts about she fixes crowns, motivational, encouraging, right? Then none of them like it. And so, but when I post something with my company related and it's like, here's, Valentine's Day, happy Valentine's Day, you know, all kinds of likes. So this is why you have to be so confident and secure in who you are, because if you're only going to do things based on their validation, their acknowledgement, you're going to lose. And guess what? I don't want no one in ICU, but I promise you, when you have a health scare and you realize that none of this really matters, don't go down the grave with all your gifts because of some people that if they let you go, they don't even think about you again, or vice versa. Because like we don't know. I think that was the rude awakening. We don't know what kind of curveballs are going to be thrown at us. And it could be your health. And you lost all this time because you were so concerned about what they thought. Who cares? And I truly, anyone who's listening, listen, do it. And I can promise you, you can even email me if I was wrong. You are going to succeed more than you've ever had. Like you're going to see something happen. You won't even be able to explain it. And you'll be so much happier. Doesn't mean your fear doesn't go away. We're still human. We're still looking for validation. We still want to be liked in this world. But when you start owning more of your truth, you have to realize that there's going to be a lot of people who's going to be, what in the world is she doing? Who do you think you are? Oh, so now you're an expert in this? Oh, that's it. Okay, whatever. Do it anyways.
That's amazing advice. What about for those moments? Have there been moments where you were scared to
Oh,
post
every day.
something and what gets you past that, like hitting send,
I
making it
laugh
go?
because I remember my boss telling me, like, you make your post all about you. Thinking, well, you make it all about your company. Right. So I'm like, and it doesn't change because I'm still human. I'm like, oh brother, it depends on what post I'm about to put out there. I'm like, well, they're really gonna like that one. And so I do it anyways because I have a vision now where I'm going. Don't know, the middle part, how I'm actually gonna get there. I just know the end result. And I feel good because again, it's about making an impact. People are gonna talk. They're gonna talk if you're posting and or you're not posting. So them will be doing, them will be don't. I go back to these 5x5. I'm also a huge believer in listening to motivational videos. So I prime my mind like no tomorrow. So I'm far away from egotistical. But there's a humble swag, I call it, where you have to do it. Like I said, like I laugh every single day because I'm like, well, my social media is usually done for the month, but when it goes, because I can tell when people like it, I'm like, well, that's going to make them happy. And so it is, I think the finally have to realize is when they said the universe will conspire. they would have to realize I'm not giving up. This is who I am. And
Yeah.
and it allows me to be me and work even harder because it's something. If I'm like, okay, if I'm going to do this, then you obviously can't be slacking. And I think that's what companies don't realize. I think corporate America needs to honor people being themselves. And a lot of, like, I literally cheer any of my reps that want to have a side hustle. Go, go, go. You should do it. You should be part of that board, or you should open that business, or you should open that boutique, whatever. I encourage them. I think they're a lot happier. I think when everybody has a deep desire somewhere, maybe it was what it sells. Like, I want to do sales. I woke up the moment I opened my eyes as a child, I was like, as an infant, I wanted to be a sales, but that wasn't me. I wanted to be in the entertainment business, which is so happened. I am in the entertainment radio. However, it's like everyone has this deep desire that I feel because they have to pay bills. They need insurance. So security and fear creeps up, and they're like, "Well, if I go do that, I'm going to piss off corporate America. Piss them off." I mean, last time I checked, I always make this, and I'm like, my private equity company that owns us doesn't just own us; they have a plethora of other portfolios going on. I'm following their model. If they ever tell me anything, I'm like, you have to have a ton of things out there.
I love
Do
that.
it all, whatever you want to do.
They're not putting all their eggs in one basket, so why should you be? And especially out of fear. I love this message. This really, really, really pulls on my heartstrings because I hear a lot of female VP. Like I talk to hundreds of people, and especially in 2023, I was supporting one of the bigger coaches in the industry, supporting on her team. Talked to thousands of people probably last year, and a lot of them are high up women, leadership roles, not happy anymore and wanting to leave because we feel like this isn't built for us. And so I want to leave. And I think that's fine. And I think that's really great. And I think it's good entrepreneurship. Like, we can build that way. And at the same time, it's like, what if every woman just started being, and every person too, I'm not even just talking about women, I just mean every person just all of a sudden started doing what you were doing, like the shift that would happen. We just don't even realize our own power,
We
Angelina.
don't. And it saddens me because what you see, I mean, just look clearly on anybody's social media who's a woman in a leadership role. You probably see pictures of them in their job with their team, okay? And then their kids at a soccer game celebrating somebody's birthday. So I'm like, I don't want to do that. Like, my life is corporate America, soccer game, birthday. So it's highlights of being a parent and being in a leadership. And it's fine if that's what you want to do. I address this to women who feel like they're supposed to be, or men, so much more. But yet, because I've had conversation, oh, I don't think I should post that picture. My daughter looked like a little too sexy. And like, oh, I don't think I should post that picture.
What if maybe your daughter is just a sexy person? I don't know. I don't have kids, so
Yeah.
I can't make commentary on
thinking, you know? And I'm not, me personally, I don't, and not because of corporate, I just never been a fan of me posting with the babes. So it's just not my thing. But if that's what you want to post, do it. It's what you want, and what are your motives, right? Like, my motives, I can have 2 likes and I really don't care. If your motives are you're trying to post out of character, post trends, because that's now you're trying to follow society expectations. It's posting or whatever it is that you're deeply desire. Make sure it's coming from a place that deep within that's what you're supposed to be doing. And you will know quickly if this example post, am I looking to get likes? Like, I'm posting this picture because I'm trying to feel special, then I would advise you don't post it. If you're posting something because that's what you believe you truly been called to do, you're making an impact, even if it's 1 or 2 people, then you post it. But I see a lot on social media about, and again, as I mentioned earlier, with the new book coming out later this year, I talk about this because it bothers me. And I think we need to get kids at a really young age. We need to start bringing this into school systems because I'm seeing it more and more, people losing their identity. And they're starting young. It saddens my heart, and we're trying to figure out. I mean, social media makes me want to cry sometimes. This is like a necessary evil because I see more of, unfortunately, just people who are just trying to fit in and are just following the trend versus like is what Gary Vee, I guess, says, it's a free platform. Stop. Stop trying to make it like something that you're trying to gain validation. And if you don't get 50 or whatever your like goal is, you quit. Do it because it's something you want to do consistently and because you feel like you've been called to do.
Yeah, that's such a powerful message. And that question that you asked there, what are your motives behind sharing this? One of the things that you alluded to earlier, you said that you write your posts ahead of time and you do it like once a month. Something that came to me as you were saying that is that there's a level of detachment there because if you do it ahead of time and then it just posts on its own, you get to watch it from the space of curiosity and what is interesting people, what are they responding to? So you're actively getting that opportunity to do that by kind of separating yourself from the time that I wrote it based versus when it's going out. Seems really
Yeah,
genius.
thank you. Thank you. I did it because of my schedule, but it does help because
Yeah.
depending how you're feeling that day.
Unintended
Huh?
consequence.
Yeah,
Unintended
of course,
consequence,
because
perhaps.
I mean, I've done it. Like you post like, okay. And it's funny to me because, when I post, I'm like, what? Why is everybody liking what? And then I see it. But if the message is there, and I always say that, and I see it too many times, if they're trying to post pictures, images, videos that want to be liked, if you're going to do this corporate thing and you're going to step out and do your own hobby company, I have a company, then you're going to have to let go of validation and expectations of other people. Because when you start on this path, I call them haters, but you're going to have more people not liking the path that you're going on, the post that you're putting on social media. It's going to be a hard battle, and it's going to maybe even make you quit. Like, why am I even doing this? So, and especially with corporate America, because they'll be the first ones to be like, okay, they may like your first or second picture when you start in this path, because they just think that you're being different. Like, oh, look at her, she's just being cute today. But when you start being consistent, like, wait, what is she up to? What is she doing? What do you think she is? And you realize quickly, they make it very obvious that when you post something that is related to your deepest desire and corporate, which one they like, you're going to have to let go of those insecurities. And I'm hopeful that if you use one of the 5x5 success habits tools, it's going to help you have that confidence. And I always say confidence is doing a lot of things afraid. Like, you feel convicted that you're supposed to do it because you had a vision, because you actually affirmed it. You journaled it, whatever that looks like. You're like, no, I'm supposed to do this. And going back to what you said, yeah, post a week in advance if you can't do a month. Kind of detaches yourself. You forgot what you even wrote that. So,
I think it's a fun experiment. I love everything that you're saying. I also have a phrase that says "be afraid and do it anyway" right here
oh, love
on my
it.
desk. So I'm fully aligned with that. Okay, Angelina, I have one last question for you. I ask every single guest who comes on the podcast, where do you see the magic in the world?
Where do I see the magic in the world? I see it I would say within each one of us. If we individually step out authentically, I've seen it already with some of the people like yourself. I feel like we can make magical things happen because we're all even and we're also born. I believe the magic comes in when we can be authentic, 100% authentic, who we were created to be. That's the magic. If we all can do it, which I've been very fortunate to be, I guess, law of attraction, got closer to people that are really living their truth. You can feel the magic. You can feel the creativity. You can sense that a sense of belonging. And we need more of that. I've seen it in a very small group in the world, I guess you can say, especially when I leave the country out of the United States, I see it more. But when I come back, I'm like, oh Lord. But it's the truth. And so I think that magic is for me, it's just being authentic. And the more we can be ourselves and honor our truth, because the reality is we don't know when we are going to expire. I don't mean to sound pessimistic, but we don't. And it's going to be sad the day that you're laying there saying, what if? And the magic could have happened long ago if you would have said yes to yourself.
Mic drop. Thank you. so much. I definitely see and feel and know the magic in you. And thank you for coming and bringing this awesome conversation and everything that you shared here with us today. Where can people connect with you?
Absolutely. And I do have my new book coming out. It should be later this year. So, but the title's out. We're working on it, which is Reframe Success, Living Your Purpose and Not Society's Expectations, which we dive deep into the 5x5 success habits. You can find me on any of the social media platforms at She Fixes Crowns. And on LinkedIn, I go by my name, Angelina Rosario.
Beautiful. And by the time this podcast comes out, the book should be available, and I'll link to it in the show notes so that if anybody wants to check it out, they can get it. All the links in the show notes as well. Go and connect with Angelina. You're obviously going to want to go look at her social media posts that she shares. So definitely make that connection. Thank you so much for coming on.
This was awesome, Jen. What a blessing and honor to be on your show. You rock. Thank you.
Thank you. Oh my goodness. So much amazingness packed into that episode with Angelina. What an amazing story, what she has been through and how she's come through the other side with this newfound wisdom. And she's really knows that her purpose is to help other people to be more themselves as she continues to be more herself. So I hope this episode inspired you to do exactly that. If you need a little bit more inspiration, tune into Thursday's thread where I'm going to pull a little string out of this episode, maybe a couple little strings, and we're going to dive a little bit deeper on some of the themes from this episode. If you enjoyed this episode, I encourage you to share it with a friend, maybe somebody who feels like they too could be living their most authentic life, could be stepping out and stepping into their purpose. If you really enjoyed the episode, you can also take a screenshot of the episode right on your phone, share it on social media, tag me. I'm Untethered Jen. You can also tag Angelina. Her links are all in the show notes. I'll see you on Thursday for Thursday's episode. Until then, you just keep shining your magical unicorn light out there for all to see. I'll see you next time. Bye.